Guys, my name is Gene. This is my good buddy Sammy. You are watching NHL Aftermath. This is episode number 7. It's getting a little bit better and better. We're trying to iron out our hiccups. However, Sammy, you had a bit of a hiccup yesterday, did you not, by not having enough sunscreen at a golf tournament?
Yeah, I'm a little red here and there. I mean, you can see it on my bottom of my neck, and my arms are. I got a nice tan line on both of my arms there, so I not don't feel great because I had a little bit maybe too much exposure to the sun yesterday. But other than
I
that,
hear you.
I'm
I
thriving.
work in the sun, so I totally understand what you're dealing with and what you're going through.
Yeah,
So I know your charisma may not be all up to par, so just bear with Sammy as he tries to truck through this episode of NHL Aftermath.
drinking
Uh,
lots of water.
few things that we're going to talk about. Well, this episode is basically a power rankings episode, and we're going to get to that at the very end. But we're going to kind of go through all 32 teams, what they've done over not the deadline, but over the draft, what they've done at the free agency. Did they get better? Did they get worse? We're going to discuss that, and we're going to break down our opinions on each one. I'm really anxious to hear Sammy's opinion on a few of these. And we're going to do this in a snake format. So I'm going to start off with 32. Sammy will end it on 32. He'll start off on 31. I'll end 31, and so forth and so forth. And we'll get down to number 1 overall when it's all done and said. But first, I want to talk about some news that just came out about Mikov. Uh,
Michkov, Matvey
Michkov,
Michkov.
Michkov, yes. As per his Russian agent, Sergei Fedotov, who represents Michkov, the 18-year-old had no desire to be drafted by the Washington Capitals or the Arizona Coyotes either. Is this a spoiled brat syndrome, or is this maybe an actual political statement or something? Do you think this is legit? Like, yeah, what's your thoughts on this, Sammy?
I don't know. I guess it's just a player that has preferences on where he wants to play and where he doesn't want to play. Um, I don't know. I mean, there could be a deeper meaning behind it. I don't know. You would think that, him being Russian, he'd want to play with Ovechkin or Kuznetsov or something in Washington. So it seems kind of weird, but I don't know. I don't want to read into it too much. There could be something deep there. There could not be something. There could be just nothing there at all. He could maybe just not really like Washington or Arizona at all. Doesn't want to play there. Who knows?
Yeah,
But
I get Arizona. I get Arizona, but choosing Philadelphia over Washington is kind of
yeah,
mind I can't wrap my head around it. I don't think this is a spoiled brat syndrome. I think there's more to this, and I can't wait to find out what goes on when it's all done and said. Anyway, Sammy, 22 players have filed for arbitration, salary arbitration. I'm just going to cue up the title here. As some of the notable ones that are arbitrated, I'm not going to read out every one of them, but some of the noticeable ones are Vince Dunn of the Seattle Kraken, Tanner Jeannot of Tampa Bay Lightning, Ryan McLeod of the Oilers, Ilya Samsonov of the Maple Leafs, Jeremy Swayman of the Boston Bruins, Troy Terry of Anaheim Ducks, and Gabriel Velarde of the, yes, Winnipeg Jets, not the LA Kings. What are your thoughts on that, and are these any surprises?
Ilya Samsonov with Toronto doesn't really surprise me because Toronto doesn't really have a whole lot of cap space, if really any cap space at all. And Samsonov played very well last year and has played very well the last couple years. So he probably wants more money than Toronto's probably able to offer him. So that one I'm not really surprised by. Vince Dunn, kind of surprising. I mean, he had a very good year last year, and I think Seattle has a salary cap, but maybe Ron Francis just doesn't want to offer him as much as maybe Vince Dunn wants. Gabe Velarde, I don't know. That one's kind of interesting. Winnipeg just got rid of Dubois. You'd think they'd be able to offer Velarde the kind of money that he wants. Or maybe Velarde's number is totally outlandish and Winnipeg's like, absolutely not. Who knows?
And Blake Wheeler, too, to add to that
Yeah.
list. So,
Yeah.
the one person that I totally stand by and agree with, because he did take the discount last year, was Ryan McLeod of the Oilers. I was watching the Oil stream earlier this week, and yeah, they're reporting that they think he's going to go the distance with this. He's not going to give up an inch because of the fact that he was, very respectable and said, okay, I'll take the team-friendly discount this year. So this year, he's definitely going to be shooting for the stars, maybe a little bit, and we'll see what comes out of that. Okay, so 30 more free agents are destined for new teams, Sammy.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like what Toronto has done this year. Really, really like what Toronto's done. And another Domi is headed, or nameplate is going to be on the Maple Leafs. That's very interesting. I bet you, I wouldn't doubt it that when we watch the first game this year that we see Ty with a little bit of a tear in his eye. I could see that. I could see that. His baby boy with the blue and white. So we'll see. But let me just get some of the notable ones that have happened. Obviously, Toronto, not just the Domi one, but Tyler Bertuzzi now. Like, this team has gotten meaner.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And that's gonna play huge dividends. Also, veteran defenseman Jack Johnson re-signs with the Colorado Avalanche. Again, I'm just naming off a few. I'm not going to name off all the 30. Mark Stahl leaving Florida to sign with the Philadelphia Flyers. And then the Ottawa Senators inking Travis Hamonic to a $2.2 million one. And then the rest are just kind of just normal ones. Obviously, now you're getting into just kind of the smaller ones that are out there to be had. Okay, let's get into this fun segment of the episode there, Sam. Let me just lower that banner here. And we will move on to our power rankings. I just got to get that queued up. All right, Sammy. I'm going to start off with number 32 on my list, and that is the Philadelphia Flyers. They traded for Hayes. Sorry. I'm reading the wrong thing. Columbus Blue Jackets is my 32nd overall. Adam Fantilli signed in addition to Ivan Provorov, but that's all they addressed. Babcock and Goudreau and Liney were I can't see those guys responding well to Babcock's premise, especially Johnny Goudreau coming from Calgary and dealing with Sutter. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't have Columbus anywhere near 32nd, so.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You think they'll be a lot stronger, eh?
I think they're going to be a much better team this year, yeah.
Okay. Where do you have, so who do you have in 32nd, Sammy?
I have Anaheim still at 32.
Okay.
They didn't improve this year at all. They're probably losing John Gibson, which is your all-star goaltender.
I'm interested. Well, you'll eventually get down to it, but I'm interested where you have Columbus, but you'll eventually get down to it.
Yeah, we'll get to that later, but yeah.
There, I thought I made a bit of a boo-boo here.
I was laughing and giggling because I was surprised you had Columbus that low, but I don't have them yet anywhere near 32. I have Anaheim because they were 32nd last year. They didn't really make any major improvements. I honestly think they got worse. I mean, Leo Carlsson, maybe he plays this year for them, but I don't think they got any better. And if they do lose Gibson, which I think is inevitable, they're not going to be any better this year. Worse. If anything, they make it worse.
No, Columbus was the 31st ranked team as a base. So they were actually a very weak team last year. So that's why I also had them. Okay.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Sammy, what's your 31st team?
31 is San Jose.
Okay.
San Jose Sharks 31. Again, I don't think that they really made any major improvements this year. I don't necessarily think they got worse. San Jose last year was 29th. So I don't know. I guess they dropped, in my opinion, they dropped down a couple places, but I don't think that's because they necessarily got worse. I think their other teams got better. I think Erik Karlsson is going to leave. I think that's inevitable here at this point. It's either between Pittsburgh and Carolina. Both the teams seem pretty close on a deal from everything I've seen. Yeah, I have San Jose Sharks at 31.
Okay, and my pick is the Anaheim Ducks at 31. So I have them in 31. I like the fact that they signed Rocco Gudis, Alex Killorn, and they drafted Carlson over. But the one thing I didn't like is the fact that they drafted Carlson over Fantelli.
Yeah,
But still, I do like. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Radko Gudis for whatever reason.
yeah,
All right,
fair enough.
my 30th pick, Sammy, is the San Jose Sharks. So we are kind
Okay,
of sort of in alignment.
mostly.
Uh, they didn't really do much. They drafted Will Smith, fourth overall, which I think there was a few better players that were ahead of him.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. I don't understand that one. Don't understand it at all. And who did you take in 30th?
30th, I have the Arizona Coyotes.
Okay.
Again, they're 27th, so I guess I have them drop down a little bit. Again, I don't necessarily think they got worse, but again, I just think it's a lot of this is going to be, I think, just a matter of teams got better than this team did, is what a lot of mine's going to be more than anything. Other teams are sort of getting bad. And that's again the case for Arizona. I don't think they necessarily got worse. I just don't think they got better. And I think other teams were able to jump past them a little bit. Um, yeah, I don't know. They haven't really done anything, and yeah, I don't know. They're kind of stale, just sitting there. I'd like to see them be better. I hope they actually are better than 27th, or sorry,
Mhm.
than 30th, but I don't. I doubt it.
Sammy, you're going to have to take 29th. I'm just looking at my paperwork here. I have nothing listed for 29th. So I'm going to let you just take the lead on 29th here.
Well, 29th, I have the Chicago Blackhawks.
Okay.
Chicago last year was 30th, so I have them move up one spot. And really, the main reason that I have them move up at all was Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
I think that Connor Bedard is going to be able to help them steal some games this year alongside Taylor Hall. And then you pick up depth guys like Corey Perry um, and Pat Maroon. Like I think they're gonna be able to step it up a little bit. No, Pat Maroon went to Minnesota, not Chicago. Don't listen to me on that one. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they're going to be a little better this year. I think regardless, not a ton, but I think they're going to be a little better for sure.
Okay, Sammy. I'll take over 28th.
Okay.
And I got the St. Louis Blues.
Okay.
This might be another one that surprises you. They added Hayes, but they lost O'Reilly. They lost Tarasenko last year. I still think that this team is going to be reeling from that. So they're dropping 5 positions from the overall ranking this year. In my opinion, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if St. Louis is that low. I don't have them that low, but I don't have them much higher than you either.
Mhm.
Obviously, we'll get to that, but yeah, I mean, if they were bottom five, I don't think I would overly be surprised.
Okay, Sammy, 27.
Well, my 28th pick is Philadelphia.
Oh, sorry. Right.
I have Philadelphia at 28. Again, like they traded away a number of their guys. They haven't really improved really much at all. Last year, I mean, they were 26, so I guess I have them drop down a little bit. But again, I just think other teams got better. Um, I don't think they're going to be much better. I think they're definitely in a rebuild stage. I think in a couple years from now, they might be able to pick themselves back up and move forward, especially if, in a couple years, if Michkov is able to come over and play for them or other prospects that they have, I'm sure they'll get better. But
Yeah, and
for now, I have them at 28th.
I think Philadelphia was actually my 29th pick, the one that is blank
There you
here.
go.
So that was that pick. Okay. 27, Sammy.
Montreal. They were 28th last year, so I have them move up to 27th this year. So I guess just a little bit of improvement. I don't think they really did anything major this year to help them overly improve that much. They're still in a rebuild. Again, give it a year or two. They might see pretty good improvement this year. Who knows? But I think give it another year probably of rebuild, and then maybe not obviously not this season, but the next season they'll look at maybe kind of competing towards playoff spot, and then maybe jumping into the playoffs here in a couple more years. But yeah, for now, I think they'll still be a bottom team for sure.
Okay, I got the Washington Capitals.
Yeah.
I just think they're getting older and older and older. Now they signed Pacioretty, and Edmonton. I mean, nothing really too spectacular. I think they are going to drop 3 spots from their overall standings, their overall NHL standings for the 22-23 season. And then I got Montreal in 26th.
Okay.
They drafted David Reinbacher. Is that
Correct. You pronounced that correctly.
Got it right this time. When Michkov was still available, so I was kind of surprised about that. I don't know if Michkov was also maybe not desirable to go to Montreal. We know for sure it was Washington and Arizona. But yeah, I don't think they really did too much. They're gradually improving though, because this is a +1 game. So I think they're slowly creeping into the situation. But I just don't see enough out of Montreal to go whoopee kaye, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Who do you have in 26, Sammy?
26, I have Washington. So basically, you and I just kind of flip flop those 2 picks there.
Okay.
I have the Capitals at 26. Same thing. They're getting older. They didn't really make any major improvements. They didn't necessarily have any major subtractions either, but they didn't really overly improve that much. I mean, yeah, Pacioretty, like, he's still going to be a good goal scorer. And if Pacioretty is actually healthy for a full season and is able to pop 30 goals like he normally does, then Washington could very well be better than both of us have them at. But for the most part, I don't know. Like, again, it's up to Pacioretty to be helpful or to be healthy there and helpful. I don't know. Again, I just don't see it. I don't see a lot of improvement from them this year. If anything, I see a downgrade. I think Washington's going to be entering a rebuild here soon, if not kind of this year. I think Capitals' kind of main priority right now, I think, is to get Ovechkin the all-time goal scoring record, and then Ovi can retire.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
25th, Sammy?
25th, I have the Winnipeg Jets.
Okay.
So that's a big drop for them, at least for me. They were 14th overall last year, the 25th overall this year. Or for me, they'll be 25th. Again, I don't necessarily think that their roster degrades terribly and that they're going to be like terribly worse. I just have a bunch of other teams again past them. But the thing is, they got rid of Dubois. Wheeler's gone. This offseason, if not partway through the year, you got to think that guys like Scheifele probably get traded. Hellebuck probably gets traded at some point because they're on the end. They're on their last year of their contracts. Maybe Kyle Connor. Like, who knows? Like, those guys are probably gone. And so whether or not those guys are gone this summer or maybe going into the trade deadline, they get rid of them because they're not going to re-sign. So Winnipeg wants to get something. Who knows? But I don't think they're going to be as good as they have been, unfortunately. I think Winnipeg might be going back into a bit of a retool or a rebuild, which is sad because I really like Winnipeg and I was hoping for them to have won a championship over the last few years, and arguably they probably should have. But yeah. Anyway.
So, excuse me. I like what this team has done, but however, I still have them in the same spot with 0 change, and that's the Detroit Red Wings. I like the addition of Costin. I like the addition of Fisher, Hull, Reimer, Gustav, Lindstrom, but it's just, I think for me, losing Bertuzzi is huge. It's massive.
Yeah.
Like, I know Costin's kind of, I guess, going to be the kind of filler in for the toughness, but definitely not the goals, right? So I got Detroit, and it's more of a victim of circumstances just by how the other teams have done. because I do like what they have done to their roster. So I have them in 25th.
Yep.
24th, I have gaining 3 spots, the Arizona Coyotes.
Hmm. Okay.
Um, yeah, they drafted Simshanev. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna pronounce
Simashev?
Simishev. Yes, thank you,
Dmitry
Sammy.
Simashev?
Yes, that's the guy. They added Kerfoot, Zucker, Bugstad, Gelchenyuk, and Stetcher. So I think there is some improvement there with some of the core players that they have played. So I'm going to give them a bit of a flyer here and say that I think they improved. Sammy, what do you got in 26th?
You mean 24th?
That's what I mean.
24th, I actually have the Calgary Flames, which will probably make you happy, but I actually have Calgary at 24th.
Wow, not bad,
Yeah.
eh?
I think they're going to have quite a bit of a drop this year. For me, a lot of it will depend on goaltending. Like, I guess we'll see how Jacob Markstrom can perform. But I mean, they got rid of their top scorer. Toffoli's gone.
Mhm.
Lindholm, to my knowledge, still wants out, so he's gone. Probably. Hannafin wants out. He's made that abundantly clear, so he's probably gone.
Mhm.
And I don't know. Like, I just don't think they have enough outside of that, and they haven't signed anybody or brought anybody in exchange. I mean, maybe they could. If they could trade out Lindholm, maybe they can get somebody back in exchange, and same thing. They get rid of Hannafin, maybe they can get something back. Blah blah blah, etc. I
What
just
does
don't
it
think
say about
they're. I
hockey
just.
in Canada, though, Sammy? When you got Winnipeg wanting out and you want all the players in Calgary want, what does that say about hockey in Canada, man? Like,
I don't think it has anything to do with hockey in Canada. I just think it has to do with the organizations themselves currently. I mean, Calgary, a lot. Like, I think people, Brad Treliving and Daryl Sutter were getting a little long in the tooth. So I think people were getting, especially with Sutter, I think people were getting a little annoyed with that and wanting out, and wanting to change the scenery.
mhm.
Winnipeg, I mean, Winnipeg has arguably the most passionate fan base in the NHL. Very passionate
Mhm.
fans, and they do have a great organization. It's just Winnipeg as a city, and sorry to any native Winnipeggers that might be watching this, Winnipeg as a city is not a great city. It really isn't. In the wintertime, it's disgustingly cold and windy. In the summertime, it's disgustingly windy and humid. Um,
Yeah.
it's not an overly nice city. I think a lot of people like environment has a lot to do with where people want to go and play. Um,
Oh,
Fan base and
for sure.
organization aside, environment has a lot to do with where people
Yeah.
want to go and play. And same thing, I think, like same thing could be applied for Calgary and Edmonton. Like, both Calgary and Edmonton in the summer can be disgustingly hot and also buggy. In the wintertime, Calgary and Edmonton, especially Edmonton, can be disgustingly cold.
Mhm.
Um, and then you look at other cities in Canada, like Vancouver in the wintertime, it's not very cold. It's rainy, but it's not very cold. In the summer, pretty moderate temperatures, pretty
Mhm.
nice. Toronto, very similar to Vancouver's temperatures. Ottawa, same. Montreal is quite a bit colder, but moderately same climate. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I think environment has a lot to do, and area has a lot to do with it. So,
Okay, Sammy, 23.
23, I had St. Louis.
Okay.
So, kind of similar reasons to you. I mean, they got rid of a number of their big guys. They didn't really overly bring anybody in other than, like, I guess Kevin Hayes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they definitely didn't improve. They
No.
definitely downgraded. I just don't see them doing a whole lot. No, I don't know. I don't have a big explanation for them. They didn't improve. I think they got worse. They're just kind of gonna sit roughly where, I mean, they were 23rd in the standings last year. I have them at 23rd. They're just kind of gonna sit.
And my 23rd is the Pittsburgh Penguins. Uh,
Really,
yeah.
you're gonna be shocked to see where I have Pittsburgh then.
Okay. I think they're just getting older and older and older and older. And I think it's a young player's fast game. So yeah, I got them dropping 4 spots into 23rd. Um, I expect the Penguins to drop over the next few years. I expect them to get worse and worse and worse before they get better. I think they are kind of in the rebuild mode as we speak right now.
Interesting.
Uh, Going 8 spots up. I got the Chicago Blackhawks.
Wow, that much improvement, eh?
That much improvement. I do believe Connor Bedard's going to bring that X factor to this team. Not to mention Taylor Hall with Foligno. I really see a huge jump in this team's game. Whenever you draft these, I've in the history that I've known, when you got those, not just those number one draft picks, but those, those franchise players, the McDavids, the Crosbys, and that, there's always an impact that first season and a massive impact. Do they make the playoffs all the time? Not necessarily, but they do go up in the standings from their previous year. So I expect big things out of Chicago. And your thoughts on 22nd? Who do you got for 22nd?
I have Florida, actually.
Okay. Wow.
They were 17th last year, so I haven't dropped 5 spots.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think they really improved much. I mean, like, yeah, they got rid of Mark Stahl, and people will be like, "Oh, Mark Stahl didn't do that much." Mark Stahl did a lot. Mark Stahl 8 minutes. He was out there. He played a ton of ice. He was very physical. Yeah, he was hugely physical. He didn't necessarily score a lot. But he was a fantastic defensive defenseman. He was physical. He was out there for forever. Played a lot of minutes. Losing him, I think, will be a big impact on them. And they replaced him with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Again, nothing. I don't have anything bad to say about Ekman-Larsson, but in terms of the defensive ability currently and the physicality, Mark Stahl is much better than Ekman-Larsson. So I definitely see that as a downgrade. I don't know. They probably lose Eric Stahl as well, I imagine. They also got rid of Anthony Duclair. I don't know. I had them missing the playoffs last year. I didn't think they'd make the playoffs last year. Of course, they barely did and went on this crazy run. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see them being better. I see them getting worse, and I see other teams in that division being able to step ahead of them.
Yep. Couldn't agree with you much more. And when I get to my Florida Panthers, it's going to be very similar to what you say. Let's go with 21.
I have Nashville.
Okay.
I have Nashville. Again, they got rid of they got rid of Duchesne. He signed with the Dallas Stars. They got rid of why am I blanking on his name right now? I can picture Ryan Johansson. There we go. He goes to Colorado. They got rid of, so that's their 2 big centers, or 2 of the guys that are their top 6 are gone. I don't see it. I don't see them being much better this year at all. I see them getting worse. I mean, I have them dropping 3 spots. They were 18th last year. I have them being 21st this year. I just don't see it. And I think there are plenty of other teams in the West that drastically improved over them. So I think that's where they'll be.
Okay, so I got dropping 5 spots from their previous, from this year's area, the Calgary Flames. Similar to you, only I'm going off of the premise that they have an unproven coach, unproven GM as well. Huberdeau's poor play, Kadri's average play. If Markstrom's confidence is still reeling, this could very well be, and all the exodus from all these guys leaving from last year and still wanting to leave this year. So very similar to what you had to say about Calgary. So I got them in 21st overall.
Fair enough.
And your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. Like Calgary, I said when I gave my explanation for them, they definitely didn't improve. I think they got worse. And I see them probably fitting around, that 20 to 24 spot, somewhere in there.
Okay, let's go on to 20th. Who do you have for 20th, Sammy?
I have the Detroit Red Wings.
Okay.
So I have them going up a bit. But they didn't necessarily make a whole heck of a lot of changes to necessarily drastically improve this year. They made enough changes that I think that they will be better. And again, like I said, Florida dropped down and other teams dropped down, I think, which will allow Detroit to be better. Detroit's still not making the playoffs this year. Maybe the following year, maybe. But I still have them being better I think they're going to be a much more competitive team this year. They were in the playoff hunt for most of last season up until kind of around the trade deadline. They dropped off, but I think they'll be a better team this year, and I think they'll be in the hunt longer. But I think eventually the wheels will fall off just a little later than they did this year.
And this is where I have the Panthers.
Okay.
Historically, goalie Bob has a good year, bad year, good year, bad year. I'm expecting him to drop off significantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
The loss of Mark Stahl's huge. The loss of Gudis is huge. And like you said, OEL to replace those two?
Yeah.
I don't buy it. So
Yeah.
I don't need to really comment much more on that because this was pretty thoroughly discussed. Here's where I got the Vancouver Canucks, Sammy. I got them in 19th overall, +3. The loss of Ekman Larson, but Susie in return is huge for this team.
Yeah.
However, that's pretty much all that they have done as far as I noticed, unless there's something that you can enlighten me on since you're the mega fan. But yeah, I got them jumping up 3 spots from 22nd to 19th. What's your thoughts?
I have them slightly higher, and I genuinely mean like slightly higher. So I'll get to my thoughts here pretty quickly. But I mean, I think they will be a little better than where you have them. But yeah, I don't have any complaints with your analysis.
Okay. Here's where I have the Winnipeg Jets dropping 4 spots. Uh, they need to rebuild this toxic dressing room. I think it's time to move on from Hellebuck. It's time to move on from Scheifele, just like they moved on from Wheeler. This is a team, again, on the rebuild as well. So I got them in 18th overall.
Yeah. Well,
Unhappy coaches as well. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot going wrong in Winnipeg. And then, of course, as you addressed, the environment. That's massive. Would you rather play in Florida or would you rather play in Winnipeg?
Yeah, fair enough. Well, first of all, my 19th pick.
Oh, I jumped the queue. Okay, go ahead.
First of all, my 19th pick is Columbus, actually.
Okay.
I think if Adam Fantilli, for one thing, if Adam Fantilli can come in and play in that top 6, I think that could be huge for them. I think as well if 1 second, sorry.
Yeah. He's got a phone. He's got a phone call, I think. Or
No, we're good.
Shutting off his
Adam
phone.
Fantilli. I think if Adam Fantilli can step in, I think that'll be huge for them. I think as well if because they picked up Provorov, they picked up Severson. I think that's a huge addition to their blue line. I think they're going to be a much better team that way. I think they're going to be able to step up.
Can I comment on that a little bit?
Sure.
I just watched an amazing interview with Adam Fantilli on Spitting Chicklets.
Mm-hmm.
And I had full intention of actually, just after watching this interview and how mature this kid is, I had full intention of actually jumping him up spots. And I never did it. I actually would probably have him actually in 25th or 26th. Like I had Columbus in 32nd. But after watching this interview, now that I think about it, now when you mention Adam Fantilli, I'm like, that Spitting Chicklets interview, and I never did change it. But this, if you get a chance, watch that interview with him. Very mature kid. Like I was very, very impressed how he came across in this interview. He came across like a veteran. He was talking to the boys like he was a vet, laughing with Biz and all that kind of stuff, and joking with Biz, and it was weird. It was like, holy cow, this kid's a rookie, yet he's like, it was just very, very well done, and the questions that they asked him, he was able to just really get into deep. Like it was a really good interview. So if you get a chance, give yourself a watch on that. So yeah, sorry for jumping the queue on you. Okay, so
That's all right.
That's your 19th. You need to do 18th, right?
At 18th, I have Buffalo.
Okay.
I think they'll be a little bit better. They'll push for a wild card spot. I don't know or think they'll necessarily make a wild card spot, but I think they'll be close. I think as well, like they didn't necessarily make a bunch of improvements, but I think guys that they already have are just themselves are gonna step up a little more. Like Darlene, Owen Power,
Mhm.
Tage Thompson, guys like
And
that. I
a
think
good
will
young
just
team coming. Like this is a team
yeah,
on
I think they're just going to naturally
on the
help the
rise.
team jump a bit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily make the playoffs, but I mean they could. They could even be better than that. Like if Devin Levi as well and goaltending can take a step up, and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen if he can step up as well, like I think that they could jump up more, but we'll see.
Yeah. I have them in 17th, pretty much for the same reasons. They added to their blue line with Jack Johnson and Connor Clifton. But I just see this team going in the right direction with the youth and that. So yeah, I got Buffalo in 17th. You're 17th, Sammy.
I have Vancouver.
Okay, so we're
Yeah,
close.
so
We're not too far apart on some of our things. I think
yeah,
Chicago was a bit off, and my Columbus was. But now I corrected my Columbus, so my
fair
Columbus
enough. Yeah,
would have been closer to yours after watching that interview. That Adam Fantilli is gonna be amazing.
yeah. But yeah, I have Vancouver 17. I think that they will. Like you talk about Carson Soucy, I think that's a great addition for them. On that blue line, I definitely think that's an improvement over Ekman Larson. They also picked up Ian Cole. I think that's a great addition into their bottom or into
Mhm.
their top six for their defensemen as well. I think Teddy Bluger is a great addition for their third line center. I think they're definitely going to be a much better team this year. I could see them squeaking in as a wild card team. I hope they squeak in as a wild card team. I'd love to see them make the playoffs. But we'll see. But I think they are going to be a much better team this year. I'm excited to at least see a competitive team this year, and maybe have some fun watching them again.
Yeah. And I may actually be even actually underestimating this next one for my 16th pick. But I got the
Mhm.
Senators going up 5 spots. I think Jonas Corposal
Mhm.
is going to be a huge difference for this team.
Yeah,
And I also expect brother Chichuk to be inspired from what his brother Matty did this last spring. So I'm expecting, I got them plus 5 spots. I actually think they may even go higher than that. So that is my 16th overall.
okay. My 16th is Boston.
Oh, Boston.
hmm
Talk about a fall from grace. Holy smokes.
Look, last year, I mean, I could totally bite the bullet on this as well. Last year, I didn't have them making the playoffs last year. This year, I have them being more of a wild card team in that division. Um, well, I
Wow.
think I still have them as third in their division, just quite low.
I just I just
I have them as fourth.
I just I just felt a Massachusetts tremor go by just now when you just said that.
Well, look, like my dad's favorite team is Boston.
Yeah.
And even he's like, my dad as well was like, I'd be surprised if they make the playoffs. I just don't think that they're going to be. I just don't think they're going to be that good as they were.
Wow.
Well, they're definitely not going to be as good as they were last year.
No,
But like again, like we talked about Bergeron, he probably retires. Like
yeah.
I'd be surprised. Like he might come back, but I wouldn't be surprised if he retires.
Lucic,
Krejci,
Lucic,
probably same thing. They lost
Lucic.
Bertuzzi. They lost Orlov.
Mhm.
Jeremy Swayman, if they can't get him to come back as their backup or whatever, like I don't know. Allmark, I can almost promise you won't play as well as he did last year.
Mhm.
Like I don't see it. I just don't see it. And again, I also like Boston being my dad's favorite team. I'm also a Bruins fan as well. I just don't see it.
Yeah, that's quite the fall of grace. And then, like I said, Lucic, I mean, that slows the team right down too, right? Like, I mean, yeah. What number are we on? 15?
Correct.
I got the Nashville Predators in 15th.
Okay.
I know Ryan O'Reilly is aging, but his leadership, I think, is still going to be very good. In addition, Gustav Nyquist, despite losing Duchesne and Johansson, uh, this was a tough one for me. I remember when I was thinking about this one. Um, yeah, I after what you gave me for your argument point, I could kind of lean towards more what you said a little bit. I think maybe I did overrank them a little bit on this one. Uh yeah. What do you think? What do you have for 15th, Sammy?
I have the New York Islanders, so I have
Okay.
them right same place that they were last year, 15th.
Okay.
Um, I just don't really think they made any drastic improvements. They didn't necessarily downgrade at all. I think they're just going to be perfectly in the middle.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
really don't have much more of an explanation for them. They're just kind
Yeah.
of
They
right
just
there.
yeah. Um, I have them improving a little bit. And I'll explain to you when I get to them a little bit. So that leaves us. Okay, so
14th.
14th. I got the Tampa Bay Lightning in 14th.
Okay.
I think they're in retool mode now. I mean, now they lost Killorn and Maroon, so just every year, key players of that Stanley Cup era, Tampa Bay Lightning, are just slowly drifting away.
Yeah.
So I think this team is now in rebuild mode. They won't admit it. They're probably thinking they're retooling, but I don't know. What are you retooling for? You got an aging Stamkos that has several injuries. Yeah, I think it's more of a rebuild for Tampa. So I have them in 14th overall. They're
Okay.
also cap casualties too, right? So
Yeah. 14th overall, I have another Atlantic team, but I have the Ottawa Senators at 14th.
okay,
Kind of similar reasons you said with Eunice Corpusalo. I think that's going to be huge for the Senators. I think that was one thing that I think probably kept them out of the playoffs last year. Like, honestly, if Ottawa had better goaltending last year, or even just capable of goaltending last year, I think they would have beat Florida out probably for that last wild card spot, in my opinion. Probably similar to Buffalo. I think they could have taken that spot. But I think
yeah,
with Corpusalo, I think that solidifies Ottawa's goaltending. I think that'll allow them to take that step up
that's
to
huge. I
make that
think
next step.
that's where LA made a mistake. I think they should have kept him. I mean, they had him just for the playoff run, but I think he would have been a
Well,
huge.
only for he signed for what was it, 4 million a year or 5 million a year? Like,
Yeah,
or I think it was 4 million for 5 years. Like, that's
yeah,
not a lot for
no,
Corpusalo. four
no,
million a year is that's crazy to me that Ottawa was able to get him for that. Like,
yeah.
just I think that's a steal of a deal for the Senators. I think that's going to work out huge for them.
Okay, where are we at now? 13th.
13. So 13, I have Seattle.
You got yes.
Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, Seattle was 12th last year. So I don't necessarily see them making. They didn't necessarily make a bunch of improvements, but didn't exactly like shift down much either.
Yeah,
I think that though, like again, guys like Matty Beniers, I think is going to only get better this year. I think
yeah.
same thing with like Shane Wright. If Shane Wright's able to come in and play, I think
Hmm.
that could be another big bump for them. Like I think they're going to be I think they're going to be a better team, or maybe not necessarily a better team, but I think they're still going to be a good team. They're going to be a competitive team. They're still going to be probably on that play like fourth, maybe fifth in that division. I think them and Vancouver actually are going to be much more comparable to each other this year than
Hmm.
people might realize. The Pacific Northwest brethren there, I think they're going to be pretty similar to each other. But yeah,
Okay. This is where I have the Minnesota Wild falling, 13th overall. You got an aging Marc-Andre Fleury, which he still he still has it, but you just wonder if now is the time that he's going to take that final step back. Pat Maroon adding to that team doesn't really do much, so I don't really see them. I see them taking a 2 point step back. I just don't see them improving this year at all.
fair enough.
And
Fair
then
enough.
here's where I have Seattle. Despite losing Carson Soucy, uh, this team is just it just they seem to be a team that could be knocking off Colorado's a big deal.
Yeah,
And I think this team is going to be definitely an inspired team going into training camp this year, because that's a big deal, knocking off the champs
yeah.
when they weren't expected to do sweet nothing, right? So I'm with you. I'm kind of close with the Seattle Kraken, like you have. Who do you have in 12th, or did I jump the queue again on you? I
Nope,
did.
nope, you're good. 12th place, I have Minnesota. So you and I kind of again just kind of interchanged a
Just kind
couple
of
teams
swap.
here.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I have Minnesota at 12th. Again, not necessarily any major improvements. They didn't really downgrade either. They were 11th last year. I have them at 12. I think they kind of just again kind of have sat. I mean, they got what? Who do they got? Pat Maroon. Like Like,
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be a drastically better
That
team.
stud maroon, right? That amazing
Yeah,
stud.
like Maroon's going to add some nice grit to their team, I guess,
Yeah.
in exchange for Ryan Reeves. I
Yeah.
don't see a massive difference for them. I think they'll probably just, for the most part, be the same.
Okay, so that brings us to 11th.
Yep.
11th. Who do you got for 11th, Sammy?
11th overall, I have the Los Angeles Kings.
Wow. Great.
I think
That's
that puts them at third in the Pacific. I think they are still definitely enough of a capable team to be there. Goaltending, I think, with the loss of Corpusalo, I think will be, we'll see there. But I think they're still going to be a very good team this year. Um, yeah, again, not much to say there. I mean, Dubois, I think, is a good addition for them. I think they gave up a lot for Dubois, but I guess there's only one way to see how that'll work out. But yeah,
I got the Islanders here. I think the chemistry with Horvat is going to be a little bit better this year. The fact that they
yeah,
locked up Sorokin, I think that's going to be huge too. So that's something that's not going to be
yeah,
weighing on the team. So I do expect them to play a little bit better. However, they didn't really add any huge additions. And they got rid of Josh Bailey. So
yeah.
that's a team that could go either way. But I am actually hopeful that those Islanders can actually do something decent.
For
And you
sure.
know what? I kind of like go ooh and oh when I hear some of your teams, but my teams are actually very close to you. Here's where I have the Los Angeles Kings. I have them in 10th.
There you
Uh,
go.
but losing Corpusalo, that's to me is the biggest mistake this team did.
Yeah,
But their grit in the playoffs is going to be scary. And I wrote down here their grit may actually hurt some of the teams that they played previously in the playoffs, and especially one team in particular. And that's what worries me because that one team has lost a lot of grit, and I'll get into that later.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I have them dropping off for the regular season, but doing better in the playoffs.
Okay, fair enough.
Who do you have in 10?
Um, now we're into the top 10.
Yeah.
So, top 10 for my 10th overall pick, I had Tampa Bay.
Okay.
So I guess they were 13th overall last year, so I guess I have them being slightly better. I didn't even realize that I have them being a little better, but um, it's Tampa. I think as long as you have Andrew Vasilevsky, Nikita Kucherov, and Stamkos, I think you're going to be a good team. Um, so they're still going to be a competitor. They're still going to be a contender. As long as those guys, I think, are around. It wouldn't surprise me if they dropped off a bit, kind of like you have them. It wouldn't surprise me if they dropped off a bit, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're able to go to the conference finals again this year either. So I'm at 10th. I think that's probably about average for them.
Okay. Okay. Who do you got in ninth place, Sammy?
Ninth, I have the New York Rangers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the Rangers again, same thing. Like I think they're going to be, a good team just as they have been. You got guys like Shesterkin, um, and they have what Trocheck now and Zibanejad, stuff like that, like Kreider. Like I think they're still going to be a good team. Adam Fox on the blue line, Kendry Miller. Like they're a good team. I think they're going to continue to be a good team. I mean, I honestly don't think losing Tarasenko and Kane honestly does that much, makes that
Yeah.
much of a difference for them. I don't think it really does a lot. I think they're still going to be a good team. They're still going to be a competitive team regardless.
Yeah.
But they finished ninth last year, and I have them at ninth. So I think they're going to be, relatively right around where they are. Still a top 10 team, and just not see a big difference.
Okay. So I have the Dallas Stars in ninth. With
Mhm.
the addition of Matt Duchene and Sam Steele are nice additions. My biggest question about this team, will Jake Ozinger rebound back from a very poor 22-23 playoff? He did not look good in that playoffs. A lot of games where he gave up 6, 7 goals in some of them. So, I mean, his confidence really struggled. I'm hoping he can kind of just shake it and just move on from it.
Yeah,
He's the deciding factor on how this team plays. I honestly think it really rests on his shoulders. If he has a troublesome year, I think Dallas could be in for a long season.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Hey?
So
A lot of what happens with Dallas definitely will depend on Jake Ottinger and
I
his
think so.
performance for sure.
I think so. Plus, they don't have Klingberg anymore. I mean,
I don't think that makes a difference. To be honest, I don't think that does much.
Yeah, maybe not. But Ozinger is definitely a huge factor. Who do you got in ninth?
I already talked about ninth.
Oh, did you? Okay.
We're on eighth now.
Okay, so here, okay, I got Colorado in eighth. They're bouncing back one spot. I'm predicting them. Okay, so last year they had a very slow start, and then they were able to make ground. I'm predicting them to have a slump, only a mid-season slump this year. But as you put it last week, and took me by surprise, and I read up a little bit more on it, Landeskog is out for the year.
Yeah.
Does Ryan Johansson replace that? I don't think so. I think he might replace it or even better his goal premise, but the leadership is definitely not the same level. I don't think so anyway. So I think they will drop off a little bit, but they're still going to be a very competitive, good team. You never bet against Nathan McKinnon.
Yep, for sure. For me at eighth, I have Vegas. I mean, they didn't necessarily get any better. They haven't really gotten any worse. I mean, I have them drop off a little bit. They were at fifth last year. I have them at eighth. I don't know. Like, I think they're obviously still gonna be a good team. You know, like they're still gonna be a competitive team, very competitive. Probably will be a contender. You know, they just won the Stanley Cup, so how can they not be?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think they're going to be as good as I guess they were last year. Which I mean, they're probably going to be pretty close to on par with that at least. But yeah.
Yep. That takes us to 7. Getting closer and closer. Who do you got?
Seventh, I have your Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, wow.
So just dropped off one spot from 6. Not really that big of a deal. Again, like you said, you know, they lost a couple guys. They didn't necessarily see that. They haven't really seen any improvement, really. Like, haven't really done a whole lot in the off season. A lot of what's going to happen to them this year, like, will depend on, again, goaltending. I think will be a huge thing for them. Like, can Stuart Skinner step up more and play better? Can Jack Campbell get his game back and play better? Can Jack Campbell play like he did in the playoffs all season? You know, can they improve? Like, will the goaltending will be the big thing for them on whether or not they can be the dominant team that the Oilers should be. So
yeah, it could be. Maybe it's my biased opinion, but I got them pegged much lower. But we'll see. I'll give you my reasoning when we get to that. My 7th is the New York Rangers.
yeah.
Jumping up 2 spots. Getting a refreshed Blake Wheeler is going to be massive for this team. And he is a good leader. But I think he was just withered and worn with all the BS noise that was going on in Winnipeg. And I do expect Shesterkin to have a hell of a year. I just have, there's something's telling me that he's going to win the Vezina this year. I just think he is the go-to. But no Patrick Kane again, like you said. Is that really a big deal? No, what's the status of Tarasenko? Did he get moved to a different team? He got moved to a different team.
He hasn't signed with anybody yet, no.
Oh, he hasn't signed, okay.
Yeah, he's a free agent, but he hasn't signed with anybody.
So, yeah, I got them in 7th. I got the Devils in 6th. I think this team is a much better team with Toffoli. However, goaltending to me is really unknown. I was reading the goaltending names, and I'm like, I don't really know any of these names. They don't stand out. So that could be the factor, is their goaltending. But I really like their speed. I love their size. I love a lot about what's going on in Jersey. So I got them pegged in 6th.
Okay.
Did I jump the queue on you again? I did,
nope.
didn't I?
Nope.
Okay.
6th. My 6th pick. This is where you and I majorly differ.
Okay.
For 6, I actually have Pittsburgh.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
wow.
I think. Yeah, yeah. I think just
Okay.
Kyle Dubas has made some good moves. I think to improve this team. Um, I think that they will be. I mean, on 6, I could totally look like a fool for putting them up there. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, just still don't knock against Crosby, Malkin, Letang. I think that bringing in again an addition like Riley Smith and others that they brought in, I think that they are going to be just a much better team than they were last year. I think they're going to be able to be very competitive. I think they're going to be able to step back up to kind of where they usually have been for the last decade plus.
Yeah.
And especially if they do manage to pull off an Eric Carlson trade, I think that
Okay.
definitely,
That
that
changes things.
definitely,
That changes
yeah,
things. That would
yeah, I
change
think
things.
that definitely will have them in the top 10.
Yeah, because I had them
So,
23rd, and I would have them in the top 10 if they get Carlson. But like I say, we're
yeah.
talking about the present of where they are now, and I still stand by.
I still think without Carlson, I still think they're a top 10
Yeah,
team, but Carlson definitely has them as a top 10 team if they get them. If
yeah,
they get them, it's kind of between Carolina and Pittsburgh right now, from everything that I've
yeah.
been saying or reading.
Jesus, can you imagine Carolina getting a whole?
Give them the Stanley Cup. I mean,
Yeah, just give it to them. Yeah.
yeah,
Where are we now?
fifth. We're at fifth.
Fifth. Yep.
Um, my fifth place team, I have the Dallas Stars.
Really?
Yeah, I have Dallas at fifth. I think as well, if Jake Ottinger again can play like he has, or like we know he's capable of being able to carry that team along, I think adding Matt Duchene to that team, I think can be a pretty big pick me up to that team. I think that can add some good offense to that team and some good leadership to that team as well. I see them as being a very competitive team this year. I think they'll be better than they were last year. I mean, they were 8th overall last year. I think they'll be a very good team this year again.
And I have the champs in fifth. Basically, no change from where they were last year. Coming off a huge Stanley Cup victory. The only loss was Riley Smith. But I tell you what, the way they were able to play, Aiden Hill was lights out amazing. If he can bring that into next season, I can almost say that there's a chance that Vegas will repeat. It's just they're not going to have as much of an easy series in the when they play that Eastern Conference team for that final. If
Yeah.
Vegas should happen to go the way, because if they happen to face honestly like a Toronto even, I like what Toronto's done, but I mean, yeah, like that's the only thing is they were able to just dominate Florida. They're not going to be able to dominate the Eastern team this year. I don't think so. Too
No.
much strength. Too much strength.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you have for fifth? Or did you
I
do
already
your
said fifth. Dallas. We're
okay?
on fourth.
Okay, I got the Bruins in fourth. I don't think they're going to
Okay.
drop off as bad as you put them. But there is a few question marks on Bergeron's return. Losing Hall and Foligno could hamper their speed a little bit through the neutral zone. Uh, but I just can't see them dropping off from that record-breaking season. Now, I don't think they'll by any means come close to the President's Trophy this year, but I don't think they're going to drop off that much, considering that there's still a lot there. A lot of the fundamental team that got them those points is still there. So I still like the Bruins. I like their chances. Who do you have in for, Sam?
I have Colorado with the Colorado Avalanche at fourth.
Okay.
Um, I think like they were seventh last year. I think they're still going to be a very good team. Again, like you said, don't knock against Makar, don't knock against McKinnon. Yeah, they won't have Landeskog in the lineup this year, but I think having Johansson come in, I think is a probably a comparable replacement. Maybe not as good as Landeskog, but I think he's going to be a suitable replacement for him for the year at least.
Hmm.
I still see them as being one of the top teams in the NHL, for sure contender. Um, yeah, I think fourth place is pretty fair for them.
Your third place, Sammy?
Third, I have Toronto.
Okay.
I think with their top 6, again adding Domi, adding Bertuzzi. I think that is huge into their top six. I think that's going to give that team more grit. I mean, they also added Ryan Reeves, so I think that team's going to be grittier. I think they're going to be harder to play against this year, which I think could be huge for them in the playoffs. The playoffs come around. I think having someone like Max Domi, having a Tyler Bertuzzi, having a Ryan Reeves on that team makes that team tougher, makes them going to be grittier, going to make them hard to play against, which I think will be a huge advantage for them come playoff time. So,
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Here's where I got the Oilers. I got them in third.
yeah,
Um, and the reason I was debating on how's this team really going to be, and I'm like, McDavid, the points he had last year, blew out anyone out of the water with his points.
yeah,
Multiple players on that team had career years last year. Nuge, Draisaitl, McDavid. So you never bet against that. Not 1 year out anyway. Yamamoto was injured for most of the year. When he did play, I think those injuries probably he was a little puck shy in certain situations and probably didn't play certain. He still played with a lot of aggression, but I think the upgrade of Connor Brown in replacement for Yamamoto is going to be massive.
yeah,
I actually expect a lot of good things out of Connor Brown. However, regular season is regular season. I think they're going to drop off in the playoffs, and I'm actually very concerned about them playing the LA Kings in the playoffs.
yeah,
You lost. They lost Klim Kostin, huge presence as far as truculence go, as Brian Burke would say. Bugstad, he was a big boy. So there's a lot of size that they've lost. So I'm hoping they can get a couple pieces maybe at the deadline that'll bring them that enforcement style. Because I'm scared that this is going to be one of those years that teams are going to take liberties on McDavid and hack his kneecaps and hack his ankles and what we've seen a few years ago. I'm scared that we're going to be going back to that era. So I hope the Oilers do well this year. I hope they win a Stanley Cup, but for the first time in a long time, I actually think they're going to do worse than they were. Usually I have high hopes and say, "Oh, Oilers are going to always have faith in my boys, but I don't
yeah,
know. The size I think is going to be huge in the playoffs. They have to upgrade that by the deadline.
yeah. Fair enough.
Uh who do you have for third, or did you do your third?
We already did that. So you're on second.
Okay, this is where I have the Maple Leafs.
Okay.
I love what the Maple Leafs did. I love, and this is funny. Last year, same time I was saying, I love what Tree Living did. I love what he did. So we'll find out. Did he do another dud bomb or not? Because last year, he lost to Chuck. He lost Johnny Gaudreau. Fills it in with Huberto. Fills it in with Kadri. I'm thinking, wow, man, this guy really made a bad situation into a good situation. We found out they
Yeah,
were in the toilet all year long. But again, I have faith in what he did this year. I mean, as an armchair GM, I can't fault him on these moves, man. Like getting Bertuzzi, getting Reeves. This is something that this team needs. They need something to protect them, unlike the Edmonton Oilers. Protect them, protect their studs, their goal makers. Give them more ice to do their magic. And that's exactly what a guy like Ryan Reeves is going to do. That's what Bertuzzi's going to do. He's going to be in your face. That's going to be a great line to watch, actually. I hate to
yeah,
say it, but I might be a bit of a quietly a Buds fan next year a little bit. I really don't want to go down that route, but I mean, I think they're going to be exciting to watch. I really
yeah,
do.
for sure.
Just what are they going to do with Austin right there? Like,
Yeah,
if they can't get him, Austin Matthews, if they can't get him signed, this is going to be their only window. And then it's
yeah.
going to go right to the toilet. Who do you have for second, Sam?
Second place, I have New Jersey.
Okay.
So I have them moving up one spot from last year. Um, I do think that addition of Toffoli is going to be a huge addition to their top six. I mean, he's a Stanley Cup champion. He is a certified goal scorer and point getter. I think
Mm-hmm.
having him in that top six is going to be huge. Again, leadership wise, like that's going to be a huge pick. That's a huge pickup for them. Their top six is terrifying to look at, to be completely honest. Like last time I looked at it, like you got Palat, you got Hichet, you got Jack Hughes. Now you have Foley in there, Timo Meyer. Like it's a scary top six, you know. And then they also still have a very good defensive core too. And then goaltending, Ladislav Schmid, I think is his name, is their goaltender. Maybe not Ladislav, but it's something Schmid is
Yeah.
the goaltender. He played pretty well in the playoffs last year, and he played pretty well for them overall. I think he's going to be able to take that next step for them, to be their goaltender this year. I mean, if not necessarily their starter, their backup, but I think they got a good goaltending tandem. I think they're going to be a fantastic team to watch this year, to be honest. I'm excited to see how they play. Excited to watch them.
Yeah, we're not afraid of Vladislav Slimid, the former Oiler, former Calgary Flame, all of a sudden aging player that
maybe that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, I don't know what his name is either, but yeah, he does look good though. He does look pretty good. Or was that the one that I was questioning about the goaltending? Maybe
that was the one you're questioning about goaltending.
Yeah, now okay. I stand corrected. That's right. I forgot what he did in the playoffs and that.
He was good.
There's only one team that we both haven't mentioned, Sammy.
Yeah, well, I was going to say first overall, I think we could say it in tandem. It's the Carolina Hurricanes.
You betcha, hands down.
There's just I don't know. They brought back their goaltending tandem with Frederick Anderson and Antti Raanta, but they just I don't know, man. Like they're a good team.
They are.
They're just a good team. They were a very good team last year. I mean, they were second overall in the NHL this year. They've only gotten better.
Orlov now on that team? And
yeah, adding Dmitry Orlov to their defense is scary.
And the fact that they're in conversations with Carlson. Can you?
Yeah, the fact that they're a contender for Carlson as well is horrifying.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. They are going to be an unbelievable team. I think this year, honestly, I think this is a year for them that I think if they don't win the Stanley Cup, I think it'll be a disappointing season for them for sure. Again, I mean they got swept by Florida in the conference finals last year, which was a shock and a half. I was like, honestly, Boston got eliminated, and then Toronto got eliminated, and Edmonton got eliminated. I was like, oh, I give the cup to Carolina. Like they're, that's their cup to win. It's theirs to lose, and then they lost. I was like, all right, well, I guess Vegas. Like I don't know.
Alrighty, Sammy. Well, we went through 32 teams here and gave our thoughts, and we varied on some of them. For the most part, we had a lot that were within range. There was a few surprises from you and a few surprises from me. There was one, like I say, the one mistake is the Adam Fantelli, because after you should watch that video on of Spitting Chicklets of what they shot with his interview. Great interview, really good interview.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, this one is an hour and 10 minutes and going, so we might as well just shut her down, Sammy. Why don't you send us on our way?
Yeah, again, guys, thanks for tuning in and watching. If you stuck through this whole video, then definitely thank you. This definitely was a long one to hear the two of us ramble on about our differing picks for how we think the season's going to play out. I'm sure we'll be doing probably a more updated list, I imagine, kind of once the season gets started. Maybe a more finalized predictions.
I think that one we're just going to quickly go from 32 to 15, and then we'll do it in depth. I think we rambled on a little too much, and it's probably a bit of a snoozer for some of these people.
For sure. But like I said, I'm sure we'll do a more in-depth one. Maybe in terms of a playoff picture later. But yeah, like I said, if you stuck through this whole thing, then we appreciate you. Even if you stuck through part of it, appreciate you. Hit like, hit subscribe if you enjoyed it. Share it around, tell your friends. We're just two guys who enjoy talking about hockey, and if you enjoy listening to guys ramble on about hockey, you're in the right place.
And if you totally disagree with either or of us, or think Sammy's more right than I am, or I'm more right than Sammy, feel free to leave message comments in there. If you think we're totally out to lunch and we don't know a thing, sure, we'll take that too. We'll listen to you and get your ideas. But again, we are just two extremely huge hockey fans that love the game. We love our teams that are our personal teams, mine being the Oilers, Sammy being the Canucks. We want to see nothing but greatness out of them. But we love NHL hockey. Lots to talk about all the time. Anyway, guys, as always, we will see you next week. I also have my channel Lubed that will be starting up back in October, so keep that in mind. And we are moving on. We'll see you on episode 8 next Saturday. Have a great night, guys.